welcome Shikha, the Reliance Convention Events Operation Manager, to talk about the event risk. Let's welcome Shikha.
Okay, hello everyone. As Regina introduced, I'm Shikha, and you can call me a technology evangelist and even technology service provider. My aim is really to give flawless event experience to delegates in terms of registrations, abstracts, their knowledge gaining, everything by maximizing the use of technology in a conference and minimizing the use of paper and other natural resources.
Okay, so the first questions we want to ask you is MICE event less risky as compared to other events like carnival or concerts?
I think it totally depends on the nature of event it is. It's like if it's a medical conference which is held every year or biennial or once in a specific period or while, has a target audience ready for it. People know that okay, this is happening and they have to attend it. And sponsors also they have budget for these events because they know it is happening every time. So yeah, in that terms it is less risky as compared to carnivals and concerts, which is totally a leisure market, so it can get cancelled, or since it's leisure dependent, it's more riskier as compared to corporate events or MICE events, which is more of like it has to happen because it's bringing more of knowledge transfer. So yeah, it's a little less risky depending on the nature of the event.
Okay, now we would like to ask what are the risks that your company have encountered before during the event, and how do you identify these risks?
Well, I think there are two very big risks involved with any conference. One is getting delegates for the conference, and second is sponsorships. The latter is very dependent on the first one, which is because the sponsorships will only come in when they know there is a fixed number of delegates coming in for the conference. So I would say the second one is very dependent on the first. Getting delegates is sometimes very risky in terms because it depends on so many factors. We have to identify a risk, like maybe our political scenario, could be because of our unforeseen issues. Like I think because of the MH incident, we lost a lot of delegates coming in from China for our upcoming conference in November. So this was not something that you can really identify. It's unforeseen. So, but in terms of identifying, I think yes, we have to really foresee risk. What kind of things can happen. Like you have to make sure that during that period there's no elections in your country, because then during elections usually international delegates don't come into your country because of some risk issues and stuff. So you have to really foresee that all the scenarios in your country is stable. Then you have to make sure that your relations with those countries, just see that okay, how is the relation with your major target audience. Just because we knew, we had seen that MH incident had happened and we would get less delegates from China, we tried to market our event more in Japan and Singapore, where we got and Australia. In fact, very surprisingly this year we're getting the maximum delegates from Australia for our conference, because we really heavily marketed it in Australia, which is not the target audience for this conference. But since we identified the risk that a delegation from China would be less, we diverted our advertisement and efforts in getting delegates from other countries. So this is how I think the main how to manage risk is to foresee. I think foreseeing is very important. If you foresee, okay, this has happened, MH incident has happened, definitely your delegation from China will fall down. So you have to do something about it. So foreseeing and planning according to it.
Okay, just now before you say that foreseeing is one of the important factors during the risk, identify risk. So is there any process set by your company to monitor and control the risk?
There's no set process as such, but as I said, that foreseeing, planning accordingly, and execution. That's how we can define it, if at all in terms of process you want to define. So yeah, foreseeing, planning, and then execution. Yeah, that is how we set the process. So we need to constantly keep searching for the possible risk that could come in, and then we plan our actions and execute.
Okay, now we would like to ask you, we would like to know the risk management between the local participants and the international participants. Are there any differences between these two?
Or in what terms? You mean in terms of the fees they pay, or?
in general terms, like when they're attending the conference, is there any like before, during, or after? Is there any risk for participants between the local and the international?
This nothing called risk as such, but yes, if you see, if we're having an international conference, we would want more of international delegates to come in because that is how the bureau works. Even in any country, the bureau will only look at the international participation because more international participation means more subvention from your bureaus. So in those terms, yes, international delegation is more important than for us to get as compared to the locals. But in other terms, the only risk is okay. Apart from that, another revenue source is the fee difference because locals will always come in at a much lesser amount as compared to international. So we try to get maximum of international participation for our country to minimize the risk of financial, because every conference will have a fixed set of booking with the hotel, 6,000 bags. So we try to get maximum international participation to reduce the financial risk.
So it's more on financial risk.
Yeah, financial risk rather than anything else.
Can you give us an example of the events that you did before and the risk that you encounter and how do you overcome it?
Okay, for one of our conference, a very small example was that you have to identify the amount of subsidy that you want to give to students or maybe some third world countries, delegates coming in from poor countries, underdeveloped countries like Africa or all those countries. When you're subsidizing, you have to make sure that it is in conjunction with the funds you have kept aside in your budget for subsidies. Maybe you receive something from a foundation or donations or however kind. You have to be very sure of using only that amount. As I said in our previous conference, what we did was we were providing subsidy to students, and apparently more students registered than our actual subsidy that we had. It's like if you're subsidizing say 200 ringgits per student and you only have a fund of say 5,000, then you can subsidize only 250 students. So, but if you're subsidizing say 300, then you're making a loss. You do not have that much of funds. So we faced this issue in our last conference, and then how we did it was because of our relations with the hotel, we tried to minimize the number because we initially had a booking of 300 packs with them. So, and there were 500, so we tried to pay them only for 400, something like that, to minimize the loss of the hotel and as well as organizers, because hotel makes us fund by the 300 that you have. The 200 is additional for them, so even if they are makan or eating or whatever, they try to cover within 50% loss. So we had to, this is how we managed and tackled that. Paid only 50% to hotel and saved the 50% here, so minimizing the loss and risk. Again, this was a small example. Another example, as I said, was because of the foreseeing for our next conference. We knew that because this conference that we're having in November has maximum delegates coming in from China. So we knew because of the MH incident, delegates from China will definitely be lesser than it is every year. So we planned our marketing and advertisement activities in a way that we are targeting other countries like Singapore and Australia and all those regions, so that we get more participation from those countries, if not China. And that really worked for us. Yeah. Though of course not as much, but at least because we had foreseen it really helped.
So lastly, we would like to ask, in terms of technology improvements nowadays, and just now you said that you are using lesser paper on this, so we would like to know, do you think in near future, like 10 years, it will help to minimize the risk in MICE event in terms of the technologies?
Yes, it will, because as I said that, when there's technology, reach becomes very easy. You can reach out to your audience, even if suppose the political scenario, because newspapers will write the political scenario in this country is not good, this is MH has happened, this, that. So people who are actually planning to come will not come in. But when you have a reach through mediums like social media, emailers and stuff, you can write to your target audience and assure them that political scenario is fine, we will take care of something. So when there is a personal touch involved along with those social media platforms and through emails, I think that helps in reducing the risk in terms of delegate participation. Yeah, reaching out becomes very easy.
Okay.
Then advertising, as I said that because we knew China was not getting much delegates for us because of MH incident, because of this online advertisement platforms, we were able to advertise in Australia. These online channels are a very cheaper source of advertisement as compared to print, like when we, yeah. So that's how technology has really helped in minimizing the risk.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Shikha.
Thank you, Regina.
Thank you.
Thank you all of you for coming down here and asking us questions about the event industry. We also do not think we were actually facing so much risk. Thanks.
Okay.